Welcome to the Private School Leader Podcast, where private school leaders learn how to thrive and not just survive as they serve and lead their schools. I strongly believe that it is possible to have a long and happy and fulfilling career as a private school leader. And my passion is to help you figure out exactly how to do just that, right here on the Private School Leader Podcast. And I'm your host, Mark Minkus. So, during my 33-year career as a private school leader, I have to say that late June and early July were always my favorite time of the year. Pretty obvious reasons, but I'll give you a couple. I've mentioned before that my family goes on vacation to Ocean City, New Jersey, usually around the third week of June. My favorite holiday is the 4th of July. And so again, late June, early July, I've got 5 family members who were in the Army. And so we're a pretty patriotic family. And so the fireworks and the parade and the music, and of course, just the warm weather and the fun activities just make late June and early July awesome. But if I'm being honest, there's another reason that I love late June and early July. And that's because the building is quiet and no parents are calling me. And I'm not receiving emails with capital letters and exclamation points in it. And I'm not leaving at the end of the day with a parent living rent-free in my head. And so if you're listening to this in real time, in late June or early July, I kind of hate to be the one that reminds you that when the kids come back in August, that the parents come back too. But there is good news, because most of our parents are fine or workable or even awesome or great. But some of the parents cause us a lot of stress. And with all of the coaching clients that I work with, if I had to do a ranking of their source of stress that we talk about the most often, it is clear that their number one source of stress is upset parents, difficult parents, demanding parents, relentless parents, outraged parents. And so the reason that I'm bringing up parents today, I'm not trying to trigger you, but I believe that now is the perfect time for you to take action so that you don't have to deal with all of that stress all year long. And so on today's episode of the Private School Leader Podcast, I want to try to persuade you that if you want less parent stress this fall, do one of these 4 things now. And before we jump into today's topic, I just want to let you know that as of the recording of this episode, I have just one summer coaching spot open. And I mentioned that I coach leaders all over the country, and I do have one spot open, and I'd love to work with you. You know, I think coaching is really about helping you get clear on what you want and identifying kind of where you are. And then there's a gap, and I help you close that gap between the life that you want and the life that you have at school and at home. And it would be an honor to work with you this summer and help make the 26-27 school year the best year of your career. And so what do you do? How do you take the next step? Well, you can email me at mark.o.minkus@gmail.com, or if you want to check out testimonials from over 24 of my current and former coaching clients, go to theprivateschoolleader.com/coaching. It has the testimonials, it has the coaching packages and prices and all that stuff, but you could shoot me an email at mark.o.minkus@gmail.com. One spot left. Would love for you to grab it before it's gone. And I'm excited to share a resource with you. I try and give you a free gift every episode. This one is called How to Use Verbal Judo to Have Better Conversations with the Parents at Your School. We're talking about parents today. And so then the first question is, well, what is verbal judo? Well, verbal judo is a communication strategy that focuses on using words effectively to de-escalate conflict, resolve disputes, and achieve positive outcomes in various interpersonal interactions, especially in high-pressure situations. So that's a mouthful. But basically what it is that George Thompson and Jerry Jenkins wrote this book called Verbal Judo, The Gentle Art of Persuasion. And they've trained over 200,000 law enforcement officers in the United States on how to de-escalate situations with words. And so if you want to grab your free copy of How to Use Verbal Judo to Have Better Conversations with the Parents at Your School, that's a free PDF for you over at theprivateschoolleader.com/judo. Again, How to Use Verbal Judo to Have Better Conversations with the Parents at Your School, free for you at theprivateschoolleader.com/judo. All right. So I told you that if you do one of these 4 things now, you will have less parent stress in the fall. So I want to start with number 1. And number 1 is to listen to 2 episodes of the podcast. And I'm going to link everything that I talk about in today's episode. I'm going to link it at the show notes at theprivateschoolleader.com/episode 192. But the 2 episodes that I'm referring to are episode 108, and the title of that episode is Grace and Revenge, the Paradox Behind What Parents Want, and also episode 148, which is called Navigating the Age of Outrage with the Parents at Your School. And so, of course, this is free. And, I'm going to let you know, not all of these things that I'm going to suggest are free for you to do or try or consider. But I want to start with something that's free that you have access to because you're listening to the podcast right now. And so if you've already listened to it, go back and listen to it again. Or perhaps you're new to the podcast. Episode 108, Grace and Revenge, the Paradox Behind What Parents Want. What that episode is about is just how a lot of us as private school leaders, we deal with parents that when it's their own kid that has messed up, they want grace. But if another kid does something to their kid, then they go scorched earth and they want revenge and they want to know, what is the school going to do to this kid that's bothering my kid? And so this is something that private school leaders deal with all the time with parents. And sometimes they go from 0 to 100 in like a second. And so I give you some strategies to help navigate that situation in episode 108. And then in episode 148, Navigating the Age of Outrage with the Parents at Your School, just this idea of going from, 0 to a million. And, a lot of people aren't frustrated or annoyed anymore. They just are outraged, and whether that's people in the comments on a social media post or just even the ability to have a conversation about religion or politics or anything that could be possibly divisive, our country has kind of just unfortunately gone into this age of outrage. And so you've seen that with the parents at your school. What the heck do we do about that? Well, I did an episode on that of how to navigate that, how to make it better, and some strategies there. So the first thing that I'm suggesting that you do now so that you have less parent stress in the fall is listen to episode 108, Grace and Revenge, the Paradox Behind What Parents Want. And the second episode is episode 148, Navigating the Age of Outrage with the Parents at Your School. Okay, so I'm talking about 4 things. You could do one of these 4 things now and deal with less stress with the parents at your school this fall. So the second thing that I want you to consider is to read the book Hopes and Fears by Rob Evans and Michael Thompson. And I've said before on the podcast that I believe that this is the best book that has ever been written about private school parents. I think that it should be on the desk of every private school leader, and I think you should read it at least once a year. It's like 160 pages, and it is the most practical book for what we deal with all the time that I've ever come across. And it has informed a lot of the things that I talk about when it comes to parents on this podcast. And so This book is $36.50, and the cheapest place to buy it is on the NAIS website. I don't get any commission for promoting this book. I just promote it because it's an awesome book. And I'll put the link in the show notes where you can just click on it and buy it right from them. If you try to buy it on Amazon, it's going to be a lot more. And the premise of the book is that every parent has hopes and fears about their child, and every teacher has hopes and fears about their work at school. And that every single day in our private schools, there's a collision of the hopes and fears of parents and the hopes and fears of the teachers. And so Rob Evans and Michael Thompson, not only are they both educational, they're educational experts, first of all. They're consultants to thousands of private schools. Both of them are psychologists and authors and former private school administrators. They went to private school themselves. Their children all were lifers at private schools. And so they get it inside and out. And so again, I'm talking about 4 things that you could do this summer, even if you only do one of them, that will cause less stress about parents in the fall. And I'm suggesting that you read Hopes and Fears by Rob Evans and Michael Thompson. Again, the link in the show notes at theprivateschoolleader.com/episode 192. And you can get that straight from the NAIS bookstore for $36.50. Okay, so on to number 3 of the 4 things that I'm talking about today. Remember, if you're listening to this in real time, my idea for this episode is, what can you do now that will lead to less parent stress in the fall? Okay, number 3 is to purchase Parent Academy, and you as the leader go through the first 4 modules. So Parent Academy is an online course that I've created. I've taken my 33 years of experience and working with thousands of parents and building successful relationships and everything else that I've learned along the way and put it into a digital online course. And the first 4 modules are for you. And these are on-demand videos. I'm just going to run quickly through what the lessons are in a moment. There are guided notes that you would print out on the copy machine at your school. It's a 36-page printable workbook. And you 3-hole punch it, put it in a dollar store binder, and you've got your workbook. And you go through these modules at your own pace. You can watch them on your laptop, on your iPad, on your smartphone. And I will teach you step by step a framework for you having less stress from the parents at your school this fall. And it will teach you what you need to know to be able to navigate this so much better. And so just to kind of quickly go through it, I said the first 4 modules are for you. Module 1 is Understand Your Parents. Lesson 1, Why So Emotional. Lesson 2, 2 additional factors, and that is what they send. They send their children and their money to your school. This is how to understand your parents. Lesson 3 is The Child in the Chair. And then lesson 4 is The Wall of Mutual Distrust. And then module 2 is Teach Your Teachers, the 5 C's of Effective Parent Communication. And lessons 1 through 5 are those 5 C's, and it's competence, confidence, care, consistency, and collaboration. And so if you learn those, and then I'll talk to you in a minute about how we can teach your teachers those 5 C's, it will be an unbelievable change in your school. But even if it just starts with you, it's going to change the way that you work with parents. And then module 3 is Build Better Relationships. Lesson 1 is Listen, Acknowledge, and Validate. Lesson 2, Fill the Narrative Void. Lesson 3, Client Service, not Customer Service. And lesson 4, Have Better Parent Meetings. And some of the feedback that I get from private school leaders who have purchased Parent Academy and gone through the first 4 modules, they do talk about how client service, not customer service, was a paradigm shift for them. And I've had some teachers say that as well, and I'll get to that in a minute as far as the teacher part. And then finally, module 4 is use advanced strategies on outliers. And so outliers would be in lesson 1, the 5 percenters, and that's the anxious and incompetent, the intimidators, and one more group of folks that I can't remember their name right now, but the 5% of families who are, if we look across all of our schools, and Thompson and Evans talk about this in their book, Hopes and Fears, that as far as the truly outlier parents that are truly almost impossible to work with, then it comes out to be about 5% of our roster of our families. So I remembered the other one. It's the ones that are really passive, the uninvolved parent. So you've got the intimidators, the passive uninvolved non-participant parent, and then you've got the anxious and incompetent parent. So those are the 5 percenters. That's lesson 1. Lesson 2, the teacher parent, meaning you as a private school leader probably have teachers that you supervise who also are parents of children in the school. And that creates a very unusual and sometimes very tricky dynamic. And so I teach you how to handle that. And then lesson 3 in module 4 is the influential parent. So that's the parent who's a big donor, who has kids in the school that are bullying another kid. That's the board member's kid, so the influential parent. And so those 4 modules are for you. And just a quick testimonial. Margaret, who's a head of school in Nashville, Tennessee, she said, quote, "Parent Academy was the professional development I've been searching for. Mark provides practical research-based strategies that we can implement immediately. And what sets him apart is his ability to speak to both a parent and teacher perspective, making it easier to gain teacher buy-in and build true collaboration. And this was truly time well spent." And so that was from Margaret, head of school in Nashville. If you go to the privateschoolleader.com/parent academy, there's all kinds of testimonials there from private school leaders who've used the first 4 modules, and then also the plug and play teacher PDs, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. Now, in these 4 things on this list that I've been talking about, the first one, which was to listen to 2 episodes, of course, that's free. And then the second thing that I suggested was to purchase and read the book Hopes and Fears by Evans and Thompson, and that book is $36.50. And so then this third thing that I'm talking about, Parent Academy, it's $895. The feedback has been outstanding. This is something that you can use Title II funds to purchase. I'd say probably half of the leaders that I've worked with have used Title II funds, maybe more than half, to purchase Parent Academy. And then you use these first 4 modules for yourself. But the good news is that it doesn't stop there, because your logical question is, well, okay, that's all well and good that I know this stuff, but it would be awesome if my teachers knew this stuff. And that's where number 4 on our list comes in, because my 4th and final suggestion for what you can do now to reduce your parent stress in the fall is to purchase Parent Academy and use the 2 plug-and-play teacher PDs during your back-to-school teacher in-service. So let me unpack that for just a second. So this Parent Academy that you would purchase, first of all, you have lifetime access to it, and you could go through the first 4 modules yourself, and it's specifically teaching you as the leader. But then I have 2 45-minute video webinars, on-demand video webinars, and each of them have guided notes. So I want you to imagine this for a minute. Okay, so let's say it's back to school teacher in service. Your teachers are there in a room. In front of them, they each have a dollar store binder with the 26-page guided notes that somebody at your school printed off on the copy machine, 3-hole punched them and put them in the binder. They're all sitting there. And then on the screen comes the first video. And I'll talk about what's in the video in a minute. But basically, I'm taking everything that I taught you over the course of, let's say, 5 hours of lessons, and I'm condensing it and making it super specific for your teachers at your school. And so, again, we're using our imagination. You see them, they're sitting there, they watch the first video, and then they break into small groups and they answer and discuss the discussion questions that are in the guided notes. And then you can decide when you show the second video. It could be the next day, it could be during your first PD day in the fall, whatever. But there's about 50 schools spread out over about 15 to 20 states that have used the Parent Academy plug and play PDs with their teachers. The feedback has been outstanding. Again, I told you the private school, the privateschoolleader.com/Parent Academy, that you can read stuff, testimonials from teachers, from the private school leaders, etc. And so what do these teacher PDs contain? So the first 45-minute video webinar is Building Effective Relationships with Private School Parents, Part 1. Remember, this is for your teachers. So the parts that are in there are Why So Emotional, Hopes and Fears, The Child in the Chair, The Wall of Mutual Distrust, and the 5 C's. I cover all 5 of those things in that 45-minute video. They have their guided notes, and then they do the discussion questions. And it's very sticky. Like, what they learn sticks. That's the feedback that I'm getting, okay? And then Part 2, Building Effective Relationships with Private School Parents, Part 2, has Listen, Acknowledge, Validate, Fill the Narrative Void, Proactive Communication, Surprise and Delight, and Have Better Meetings. So I teach them how to have better meetings with an upset parent. I teach them how to be proactive when they communicate, when that thing starts to bubble up. You know how your teachers don't want to reach out and they come to you and say, hey, can you call Jacob's mom? Can you email Sadie's mom? This is teaching them how they can do this. And then also surprise and delight, what that means, what that looks like, how that influences retention. Here's the thing. The things that you want to say to your teachers, the things that you want to teach them about how they really could do a better job of communicating with parents at your school, are in these videos. And they can learn that. And so, for example, Denise, Dean of Students, Burlington, North Carolina, she said, quote, finding PD that is relevant to all teachers in all divisions is a challenge. When I found Parent Academy, it was a no-brainer. The teachers were able to make the connection between parents as clients and the fact that we are a business as well as a school. The response from teachers at all grade levels was overwhelmingly positive. Okay? Now, I want to pause here, and I want to give you a quick sidebar. Because you've been listening now for 23 minutes, and it's like, hold on a second. Like, this is a weird episode. It is. Because I don't usually talk about, or maybe I'll mention something that, about Parent Academy or about Thrive Academy or about coaching, but I don't talk about it in the sense of like, this is your call to action is to purchase this, okay? But I just feel so strongly about the fact that, number one, I believe Parent Academy is a resource that's fairly priced, and you can use Title II money for it, and I don't want you to be all stressed out next year, and I want your teachers, I want Parent Academy to be the rising tide that lifts all the boats when it comes to your teachers. And if the number one thing that my coaching clients are stressed out about are parents, a lot of this can be, nipped in the bud with the teachers. And so I want to lower, parents aren't getting less pushy. They're not going to get less demanding next year. They're not going to get less upset next year. And so we have to rise to the occasion with better strategies and better training for ourselves and for our teachers to meet that need. And so that's why I'm doing a weird episode, because I feel really strongly that this can be a game changer for you and for your teachers. Okay. Last thing, and then we'll wrap it up. I've got a couple quotes here from teachers. So after doing the plug and play PDs of Parent Academy, Teachers in North Carolina, Texas, Ohio, Georgia, Idaho, New Hampshire, Montana, Delaware, Tennessee, and California. Here's a couple of quotes that they're saying about Parent Academy. Quote, customers versus clients changed how I see my job. Quote, this PD was relevant to us from beginning to end. Quote, I never thought a PD would be relevant to all 3 divisions in our school. We all have the same issues with parents, whether we teach 3-year-olds or 12th graders. Private schools are different. And finally, a quote from a teacher that said, I have been in education for 30 years, and this is the best PD I ever had. So one last thing. Vanessa, principal in Minnesota, she said, this PD was really good. A number of the teachers asked, when are we going to do the second plug-and-play PD? Because we only did part 1 today. Several teachers mentioned how they really appreciated learning about the wall of mutual distrust. So let me just put a bow on this for you. Parent Academy, $895. You have lifetime access. You can use Title II funds to pay for it or take it out of your PD budget if you have one. You now have shared language with your teachers. They know what the mutual wall of distrust is. They know when you refer to the child in the chair what that means. They know when you talk about filling the narrative void before the parents do. They know what that means. When you talk about surprise and delight, they know what that means. And so what I've seen from the schools who've used Parent Academy with their teachers is that then, because of the shared language, then they have expectations that they can refer back to upon the teachers with regards to proactive, positive parent communication. And so the privateschoolleader.com/parent academy is where you can find that. And so I've combined your big takeaways and your call to action today into one thing. And what we're talking about is I'm giving you 4 things, and that you can do one of these things or more, but you can do one of these things this summer to reduce your parent stress this fall. Number 1, listen to episodes 108 and 148. Number 2, read the book Hopes and Fears by Rob Evans and Michael Thompson. Number 3, purchase Parent Academy and go through the first 4 modules for yourself and build your skills as a leader. And number 4, purchase Parent Academy. And again, Parent Academy includes the first 4 modules for you and the 2 plug-and-play PDs for your teachers. You could, if you purchase Parent Academy, use those 2 plug-and-play PDs when your teachers come back during your teacher in service or during a PD day in the fall. And so the privateschoolleader.com/parent academy is where you can find that information. Just a quick reminder, I want to give you for free how to use verbal judo to have better conversations with the parents at your school. I don't really cover verbal judo in Parent Academy, and so this is kind of something that's a little bit of an extra little feature there for you, privateschoolleader.com/judo. And then a final reminder that I do have one coaching spot open right now, and you can shoot me an email at mark.o.minkus@gmail.com, and I'd love to talk to you about that. Again, the show notes for today with links to all the things that I mentioned, privateschoolleader.com/episode 192. And I really appreciate you, how hard you work. I'm hoping that you're getting a little bit of rest this summer in between all of the responsibilities that you have. But I really appreciate you and all of the time that you spend on those lucky kids and those lucky teachers at your school. And I've been your host, Mark Minkus. I just want to say I appreciate you and all the hard work that you do for those kids. Thank you so much for taking some of your precious time to join me here today. And I'll see you next time right here on the Private School Leader Podcast. And until then, always remember to serve first, lead second, and make a difference.